Most often, outside of any trauma or disease, the reason for things like weakness, pain, numbness and/or pins and needles in the arm boils down to muscular imbalances impinging on nerves that develop due to poor postures day by day taken up at work and at home. However, significant weight gain can be an added element to consider. When you hear that, you might jump to the conclusion that it's solely because of the increased associated load that excess fat places on our spines, which, of course, can be a factor. But other factors can contribute to the onset of these symptoms, like the pro-inflammatory effects of fat tissue, the relationship between a higher BMI and impaired glucose tolerance, and the postural changes that coincide with considerable weight gain over time. We'll examine in depth in this video the resulting postural changes from being meaningfully overweight, in particular, to show you how they can contribute to radiation in the arms. But first, as always, please take note of our disclaimer. To discuss this topic, we think it's best to start by explaining the muscular imbalance pattern that most commonly leads to radiation in the arms, and then discuss how weight gain increases the risk from a functional standpoint. It's known in the physiotherapy field as upper cross syndrome. Posturally, it's presented by the classic forward head and rounded shoulder position we're warned about at school. But from a muscular standpoint, it's characterized by shortness in the pectorals, upper traps, and levator scapulae, and weakness in the deep neck flexors, lower traps, and sertus anterior. Radiculopathy symptoms in the arm arise from upper cross syndrome due to the heightened likelihood of nerves becoming squeezed, primarily at entrapment sites inside the spinal column at the neck and outside the spinal column at the neck and chest. Indeed, arm radiation can also be a consequence of entrapments arising in the arm itself too, but they're less commonly the main issue. Inside the spinal column, it occurs from the cervical spine flexing excessively forward as a consequence of upper cross syndrome and forward head posture. That's because it creates uneven pressure on the discs that help with shock absorption between the vertebrae. In some cases, this unequal load distribution can lead to them bulging out the backside, compressing the nerve root or even the spinal cord. Now, you might say, well, just how much pressure can something as seemingly harmless as the head protruding place on the cervical spine to heighten the likelihood of a disc protrusion or herniation? Well, it's been suggested that for every inch the head moves forward from its typical posture, the load placed on the lower neck is equal to that number times the head's weight. In other words, if the neck is 2 inches forward out of normal positioning, then weight placed on the lower cervical vertebrae and discs will be twice as much. So, in actuality, quite a lot. But more commonly the cause for cervical radiculopathy from being stuck in an excessively flexed position is that the holes between the relevant vertebrae, known as the intervertebral foramen, are narrowed subsequently. These openings are where the nerves travel from the spinal cord into the neck, through the chest and down the arms. As such, because the nerves are less able to move through them freely, it can lead to them getting pinched or irritated and ultimately a neuropathy. Then, upper cross syndrome can lead to nerves being pressed upon just outside the cervical spine at the neck and chest at 3 sites. One is at the scalene triangle. This is an anatomical space where the brachial plexus runs through to get to the arm, a network of nerves originating from the spinal nerves in the neck. It's bordered by the anterior scalene muscle, the middle scalene muscle, and the first rib. Therefore, if these muscles get shortened, the nerves heading toward the arm can get squeezed. Even though the anterior and middle scalene muscles aren't ones quoted as being part of upper cross syndrome like the pecs and upper traps are, they can similarly become shortened from becoming overworked from trying to stabilize and support the head in an unnatural position. The next site is the costoclavicular space, since the brachial plexus can likewise be squeezed between the clavicle and first rib. And the last is at the subpectoral space, which, as you might guess from the name, primarily occurs from the shortened pec muscles compressing the nerves running underneath them. Rather than this occurring from the forward head posture consequence of upper cross syndrome though, it more so results from another biomechanical adaptation of it, the rounding of the shoulders. As we alluded to at the onset of this video, Poor postures at work or home are the main reason for all of this. But the good news is these are preventable with the right knowledge and actions. We fall victim to these from having poor ergonomic setups for activities we do frequently over sustained periods, and not taking a break once in a while, getting up and moving around. And of course, the most perfect example of this is while using the computer. To give you some examples, if the monitor's height is too high or too low, it can lead users to tilt or bring their heads forward. If the chair or armrests aren't adjusted properly, it can result in shoulder rounding and also the head coming forward. And if the keyboard and mouse aren't easily accessible, it'll encourage people to reach more forward, worsening the likelihood of both. Additionally, other activities that can contribute to poor upper body postures can be the ergonomic setup you have while driving, reading, or writing. So, how does weight gain then do the same and incline people to develop upper cross syndrome? Well, interestingly, in part it actually stems from postural consequences that occurs further down at the pelvis. You see, with increased weight gain comes unequal fat distribution between the front and back of the torso, with the build-up being much more anteriorly. Because of this, the pelvis will adjust accordingly due to gravity, tilting forward and causing the lumbar spine to curve excessively. As you can imagine, if only this biomechanical adaptation to weight gain occurred, everyone meaningfully overweight would have a lot of difficulty staying upright, as they would be constantly dragged forward. So, to compensate in avoidance of this, the body will make an adjustment higher up in the body to help maintain its center of gravity. That's right, by bringing the head and shoulders forward, as well as the thoracic spine into exaggerated extension, setting the stage for upper cross syndrome and its potential for resulting weakness, pain, numbness, and or pins and needles in the arm due to nerve compression in which we have spoken about. Therefore, if you'd like to undertake our evidence-based and results-backed personalized Plato weight management program, please click the link in the top right-hand corner of the video or follow the link in the description. Also, if you think you've had radiating symptoms in the arm as a result of weight gain, we'd love to hear from you in the comments section down below. Further, if you're new here, make sure to like and subscribe to our channel. So, that has been our video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.